Welcome back. Today we're doing a deep dive into, well, what makes change so hard in a really specific industry, commercial fishing. We're looking at a paper called Managing Change in Fisheries, a missing key to fishery-dependent data collection.
Yeah, it's a great paper. The lead author is Eayrs, along with Cadrin and Christopher Glass. And their mission, basically, is to figure out why everyone involved in fishing, from the folks on the boats right up to the management authorities, seems so resistant to changes that, honestly, look necessary. And they think maybe the answer isn't just more rules or money, but actually using business models, like established change management theory.
Which is fascinating, right? Because you're applying this corporate world thinking, these organizational theories, to an industry that's, well, it runs on tradition, independence.
Yeah, exactly.
And the funny thing is these change models, they don't even have a great track record in the corporate world. People often quote, what, like a 70% failure rate? Maybe even higher?
It's right. It's notoriously difficult.
So if it's that tough to change things in an office building, how on earth do you apply it to, a whole fleet of independent fishing boats?
Well, that's the challenge they tackle. And the starting point is just accepting that change has to happen in fisheries. It's unavoidable. Conservation demands controlling catches based on how fish stocks are doing. Environmental shifts, things fluctuate.
Right, nature isn't static.
Exactly. But the industry often struggles to keep pace. It lags behind what the ecosystem actually needs.
And you mentioned the independence. That seems key to the resistance.
Yeah.
You've got fishers who are, deeply traditional. They might have used the same gear, the same techniques for generations.
Yeah, doing what their father did or their grandfather.
So any change feels suspicious, threatening even, like it's going to hit their bottom line or just mess up how they've always done things.
Yeah, definitely. But it's crucial to see this isn't just about the fishers being stubborn. The paper points out the whole system has resistance baked in. Management authorities, they're often stuck in conservative modes too, trying to avoid lawsuits, hemmed in by political mandates, working in these departmental silos. Collaboration isn't easy.
So the managers find it hard to change course too.
Absolutely. And even scientists or other groups can get caught up in their own mandates, maybe chasing specific funding, which can limit broader collaboration.
It paints a picture of fragmentation. Everyone's sort of stuck in their own corner, protecting their own bit, making system-wide change really difficult.
Precisely. Now, the paper distinguishes between two kinds of change, which is helpful. First, there's what they call evolutionary change. This is the slow, steady, step-by-step stuff.
Okay, like tweaking your gear a bit to save fuel, or maybe catch slightly more, small adjustments.
Exactly. Doesn't really challenge the core way things are done. It's incremental.
But then there's the big one, revolutionary change.
Right. And that's the kind of change that's planned to shake things up, transform the whole operation. Think about shifting from controlling how people fish, like gear restrictions, known as input controls, to controlling how much they can catch, which is output controls or quotas. Yeah. That forces a massive shift in how you operate.
That sounds like the kind of change that causes, well, turmoil, big, possibly irreversible effects.
It is, and it's this revolutionary type of change that most business models are designed to handle. And this connects directly back to the paper's title, The Missing Key for Data Collection. All this resistance makes getting good fishery-dependent data incredibly challenging.
You mean things like electronic logbooks, detailed catch info?
Yes, because why would a fisher put in the extra effort, the time, the potential cost, if they fundamentally believe that data will just be turned around and used to restrict them further, to cut their quota?
Okay, so it's not just about the hassle of collecting data, it's about a deep distrust of how it might be used.
That's a huge part of it, which leads us into the really interesting psychological part of the paper. They use this case study, Gurnet, from the New England groundfish fishery, to explore behavior that seems, on the surface, completely illogical.
Garnet. Tell us about that.
Okay, so Gurnet was funded by NOAA, a cooperative research project. The idea was to test new gear that the fishers themselves had asked for, things like low drag nets to save fuel, or fuel flow meters. And this gear was offered at little or no cost. Seems like a no-brainer, right? Evolutionary change, clear benefits.
Especially given the context. Wasn't the fishery in crisis around then?
Huge crisis. It had actually been declared a federal economic disaster because of massive cuts to cod and flounder quotas. We're talking cuts that could slash fishing income by 50% or more. They were facing economic ruin.
So free gear designed by them to save money during a massive financial crisis.
You'd think uptake would be universal, but it wasn't. Many fishers flat out refused to participate. Others signed up, maybe even got the gear, but then just lost interest, didn't install it.
Even with clear fuel savings, no negative impact on their catch.
Yeah.
They just didn't do it.
Right. They chose the painful status quo over free, proven help. It seems baffling.
Okay, so how do the authors explain this? It can't just be stubbornness, can it? This is where the psychology comes in.
Exactly. This is where they introduce these powerful concepts: competing commitments and big assumptions.
Competing commitments. What does that mean?
It's basically a hidden subconscious goal that clashes with your stated public goal. So you might publicly say, I'm committed to sustainable fishing, a well-managed fishery. That's your stated commitment.
Okay, sounds good.
But subconsciously, you might have a competing commitment, like, I am committed to avoiding scrutiny from fishery managers, or I am committed to not having anyone tell me how to run my boat.
Ah, so the hidden goal undermines the public one, like a personal immunity to change, as they put it.
Precisely. And this hidden commitment is propped up by what they call a big assumption. These are really deep-seated beliefs, things you've come to accept as fundamental truths about how the world works, often based on years of experience.
Okay, so give me an example linking these together.
Well, let's take the logbook example from the paper. Stated commitment: I want a well-managed fishery. Contradictory behavior: I don't fill out my logbook carefully or accurately.
Right, that doesn't line up.
The competing commitment might be, I am committed to protecting my current quota level at all costs. And the big assumption driving that is, I assume that if I provide accurate, detailed data, it will inevitably lead to stock assessments that reduce my quota.
Wow, okay, so when you frame it like that, the behavior isn't irrational at all from the fisher's point of view. It's self-protective. They're acting logically based on their underlying assumptions, even if it sabotages the bigger goal.
Exactly. It's a defense mechanism. And once you understand that, you realize you can't just push harder with facts and figures. You need a different approach, which is where they propose using a formal change model, specifically Cotter's 8-step process.
Cotter's model, okay, that's a pretty well-known one in organizational change. How does it apply here?
Well, Cotter designed it for exactly this kind of large-scale revolutionary change. The authors suggest you could use it proactively to guide a new initiative in fisheries, or maybe look back a posteriori to see why something like Gurnet didn't work as hoped.
Makes sense. So what are the steps?
The first 3 are absolutely critical. They're about creating the right climate for change. Get these wrong and you're almost certainly doomed. Step 1, establish a sense of urgency. Cotter says this is the biggest mistake, trying to make changes when people just don't feel it's truly necessary right now.
So if the fishers aren't feeling the urgency, they'll just pay lip service or find ways around the new rules.
Absolutely. Or just passively resist, like in Gurnet. Step 2, create a guiding coalition. This isn't just management. It needs to be a powerful, credible group with diverse representation.
Meaning actual fishers from different boat sizes, using different gear, people respected on the docks.
Yes. That's vital, especially given how independent fishers are. You need that buy-in from influential peers. And step 3, develop a vision and strategy. It has to be clear, simple, easy to communicate. Something that inspires people and shows them where you're headed and why it's better.
Okay, urgency, coalition, vision. That sounds like a massive amount of groundwork before you even start changing things.
It is, and it explains why so many initiatives fail. They skip these climate-setting steps. The next steps are about enabling action. Step 4 is communicate the vision, constantly, clearly, through multiple channels. You have to fight the inevitable rumor mill, the dockside chatter.
Keep reinforcing the message.
Right. Then step 5, empower action. This means actively removing barriers. That might be outdated regulations, but it could also be fear, anxiety, lack of skills. The guiding coalition needs to tackle these head-on.
Turn that negative chatter positive.
Exactly. And step 6, generate short-term wins. People need to see progress quickly to stay motivated. For fishers, a win isn't just hitting a bureaucratic target, it's something tangible. Better catches, lower fuel bills, maybe getting access back to an area, real immediate benefits.
Okay, so communicate, empower, get quick wins. Then what? How do you make it stick?
That's the final phase. Step 7, consolidate gains, don't declare victory too early, keep pushing, build on the wins, tackle bigger obstacles. If you let up, things can slide back.
Don't lose momentum.
Right. And finally, step 8, anchor new approaches in the culture. This is the long game. Making the new way of doing things the normal way, that takes time. You need to show repeatedly that the new way works better, maybe over years, until the next generation just accepts it as standard practice.
Wow, 8 steps. It really highlights how complex and, frankly, long-term this kind of change is.
It is, and underpinning Cotter's whole model is a really key idea. Change happens when you influence people's feelings, not just their thoughts. He talks about see, feel, change being much more powerful than analyze, think, change.
Meaning data and reports aren't enough. You need something more visceral.
Exactly. You need strong leadership, compelling demonstrations, maybe videos, real-life examples that hit people emotionally, something that creates that feeling of urgency or optimism or possibility to overcome the fear.
That makes a lot of sense. You need to connect on an emotional level, not just an intellectual one.
Yeah. And you can see how this applies right now, say, with the struggles to get electronic monitoring or logbooks widely adopted in places like New England. Looking through the Cotter lens, it's not surprising it's been tough. Is there a real widespread sense of urgency among fishers? Is there a clear, compelling vision for how this data benefits them? Is the guiding coalition strong enough with enough fisher champions? Often the answers are, well, maybe not.
It provides a framework for understanding the failures, or the slow progress at least.
And it has huge implications for bigger shifts, too, like moving towards ecosystem-based fishery management, EBFM.
Right, managing the whole system, not just single species. That's a massive change.
It is. People describe that transition in stages, and the final stage is definitely revolutionary change. So if we want EBFM to actually work and not cost a fortune in failed attempts, understanding these change management principles seems pretty essential.
Did the authors feel like they missed a trick with Garnet by not knowing about Quater then?
They basically say so, yes. They acknowledge they weren't aware of the model when Garnet started and think, looking back, that applying it deliberately might have really boosted its chances of success. They're also careful to say Cotter's model might not be the perfect fit for fisheries. It's just a useful starting point.
So what's next? How do they plan to test if this model actually works in this context?
Their idea for future research is pretty clever. They plan to look at case studies where fisher groups did successfully collaborate and make changes happen. Then they'll analyze how closely those successful efforts, maybe without even realizing it, actually followed Cotter's 8 steps.
So seeing if successful change in fisheries naturally mirrors the model, even if unintentionally, that would be strong evidence.
Exactly. It would test the model's real-world validity in this unique environment.
Okay, so summing up, the big takeaway for you listening is that resistance to change in fishing isn't just people being difficult. It often stems from these deeper psychological factors, competing commitments, protecting them from perceived threats, fueled by big assumptions about how things work.
Right. And if you want change to stick, whether it's new tech or new rules, you probably need to focus on the feel part first. Address the emotions, the assumptions, the perceived risks before you hit them with the logic and the data. You need that see, feel, change approach.
Which leads to a final thought to chew on. We know that just offering money, economic incentives, often doesn't cut it when trying to change fisher behavior. They value their independence so highly. So thinking about that see, feel, change idea, what kind of non-financial, really compelling, maybe visual evidence could actually make this fiercely independent community genuinely see and feel the urgency for some of these big revolutionary changes? What would that look like?